that screen? I can't see my notes. Thank you. Okay. Let's wait for you. Okay, thank you. Welcome to today's lecture, which is how to start learning a piece. So, can I get a show of hands? Who here knows how to play musical instruments? Show of hands. Who here would like to learn how to play a musical instrument? And who here thinks that it's too late for them? Okay. So everyone put their hand up. I'm going to have to ask you to leave and come back with a better attitude. Okay? All right. So. I think the mouse has a limited range. Okay. Okay. Oh shoot. Sorry. Sorry. Actually, I think you just operate the slides. Thank you. First, let me tell you about Alan. So Alan was my second piano teacher, and he helped me get through my Associate of Piano Performance in 2015. And in 2020, I attained my Licentiate in Piano Performance with him, for which I was awarded the National Gold Medal for the highest grade in Canada. So he's been teaching for over 50 years, and his students have won 23 provincial gold medals and 3 national gold medals in his career. So needless to say, he knows what he's talking about. And what I'm going to share with you today, the topic of the lecture, is what I learned from him at a pub. So yes, it actually is an acceptable venue for music education. Just take it easy on the drinks. So, do you ever wonder how to get started on a piece or song? What's important? So let me tell you about the elements of the grand staff. The grand staff has the clefs, where the music notation is written. It has the key signatures and the time signature. So let's talk about the clefs. There are 2 clefs, the treble and the bass. So the treble is usually associated for the higher pitched notes, and for pianists, it's usually where the right hand plays its notes, or reads its notes from. And the bass clef is usually intended for lower pitched notes, for the left hand. Okay? While the key signature tells us the sharps and the flats at the beginning of the piece that indicate which notes to play. So on the piano, you have white and black keys. So the key signature tells you which of those keys to play. So the key signature on the top is a very simple key signature. It sparks joy for any of you Marie Kondo fans. And the bottom key signature, if you're a musician, you might as well say your prayers because that's a living nightmare. The time signature indicates the number of beats per measure, and it's going to be very helpful for the counting component of the piece. Let's talk about the elements of each note. So each note has 4 different elements. It has the pitch, which is the letter name of the note. It has a fingering, so the music indicates which finger to use on which key. It has articulation, which is how the note is played. And finally, it has the counting. So each of those notes has 4 elements. We won't talk about the volume for now, but think about those for the time being. So pitch and fingering. So figure out the correct notes first, finding wrong ones, fixing wrong ones immediately before moving on. And work on one measure at a time. Anyone eat these? So, can someone tell me, how do you eat a burger? Exactly, yes, correct. Yeah, one bite at a time. So a common mistake I see as an educator is that students will try to practice too big of a section, right? They'll practice the whole page going through it, and then they'll do it again, and they might do it a third time if they're particularly industrious. But that's not the best way to practice a piece. It's akin to eating your burger, and while you're currently chewing your current bite, you've already taken another one, right? So that's going to lead to probably upset stomach. You're not going to feel very good afterward. So I tell my students, practice your pieces like you chew your food, which is very thoroughly and one bite at a time. So the pitch of the note is obvious, but why is the fingering important? Okay? Because we don't want to confuse our brains. So what I'm going to draw for you here is a simplified neural network. Okay? So I want everyone to pretend that this is your brain. Okay? And what is your brain made up of? Neurons. That's right. So in reality, your brain is made up of like over 100 billion neurons. So let's say that to perform a specific task or to carry out a thought, that your neurons will fire something like this. Okay? So that's called a synaptic pathway. So what happens when you practice a piece one way this time, and then the next time around you do it slightly different? So you use a different fingering, for example. Well, what you're doing is that you're actually creating another synaptic pathway. Okay? And let's say that down the road you change the fingering yet again. Right? So what you're doing is actually you're confusing your brain, because your brain doesn't know what is really right from wrong in terms of learning music. It only remembers what you're inputting to it again and again. Okay? So the reason why you should write the specific fingerings that you're going to be using for the music is so that your hands will play the same fingering every time, thus leading to effective learning. Does that make sense? So choose fingerings that make it easiest to play the note. Okay? You want to avoid fingerings where you have to change your hand position quite frequently. And try not to use your thumb on a black note. Does anyone know why that is? Yes?
Your thumb is really short.
Yeah, if you didn't notice, if you just put up your hand like this, your thumb is quite shorter than the other fingers. So you'll have to reach for the black keys when you learn your music. So it doesn't mean that you can't use your thumb on a black note. It's just it's not preferred. Okay? So work on one measure at a time until you've completed the entire page. And for more adult music or more advanced students, I recommend that you write the fingerings for the entire page before you move on. Okay? So I want to talk about the analogy of building a house. Anyone here built a house before? Oh, that's wonderful. So I want you to tell me what you think of this idea. So I'm going to start building the framing of the house on the foundation. And I'm halfway through the framing, I'm going to start putting up the walls. What do you think about that? Yeah. So Tal here is an engineer, so he knows. But even if you weren't an engineer, you should complete every component of that stage of building the house. So you build the framing completely, and then you would start putting the walls up, right? But again, as an educator, what I see my students do is they'll write the fingerings for half the page, and they'll get really excited to start playing, right? So that's akin to you start pulling up the walls of your house, but the framing is yet to be completed. Okay? Articulations. What is articulation? It is how the note is played. So similar to how we speak, you can either speak with a very slurred speech, or you can speak very articulatedly. So let me introduce the two main articulations that we find in music. So the first one is legato, and the other one is staccato. Legato is indicated by a curved line above or below the notes. And it means to play the music smoothly without a break in the sound. Whereas staccato is indicated by a small dot above or below the note head. And that indicates to play the note short. So it depends on the context of the piece. The faster the piece, typically the staccatos are shorter. So in the piece that Sage played, so that staccato is very short because the piece is quite fast. Whereas in another piece that has a slower tempo, the staccatos will be more like this. So everyone hear how the notes are a little bit longer as opposed to, okay? Start at the beginning of the piece and play one measure at a time until all the articulations are intact. So keep going, or keep practicing until you play, what you play matches the music. And just when you think that you played everything correctly, check again. So what's the saying about building a house or cutting something? It's measure once, cut twice, right? I wanted to see who's paying attention. Right? So measure twice and cut once. Right? And again, with regards to piano playing, or play any musical instrument, check your music and double check that what you are actually reading is what you're playing before you play the notes. Okay? Easier said than done, because you don't just do this for one note. You do it one after the other, and so on and so forth. So, who here has heard of this phrase before? Practice makes perfect. Anyone here believe this to be true? Parents? I'm sorry, but it is not. It's one of the biggest lies. Okay? So practice does not make perfect. Practice makes permanent. And it's actually perfect practice that makes proficient. Okay? So just because you're practicing and putting the time into practice doesn't necessarily mean that you are learning or that you're making progress in your piece. Right? That you know, one of your kids could be doing a math sheet, for example, and your kid could say, "I've done 20 questions." Okay, great, you got 5 right. But I practiced, right? So it's more important how you practice versus how long you practice. Okay? Keep going until you reach the end of the line. And now it's time to work on the counting. So what is counting? Counting is identifying the different note values as they fit in each measure. And there's different ways that we can do this. So the first way is that you can write the counting in the middle of the staff, which you're going to see in just a moment. And the second way to do it is you can write lyrics to your song, right? Yankee Doodle came to town, right? Or you can do a combination of the two. So in this piece, I've written the counting in the middle of the staff. So how you would clap this and how you would count it would go something like 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Some of you were looking at me, but how do you know if I actually counted it the right way? Okay, next slide. And when the music is more complex, you can actually make up a cool little tune. So here we have rosemary hippopotamus dumplings are the feature today, sir. So how does that sound on the piano? It goes like this. Right? So can everyone read that? Nope, it's too late. Rosemary hippopotamus dumplings are the feature today, sir. So I'll just clap it for all of you who can't read it. So rosemary hippopotamus dumplings are the feature today, sir. Right? Did everyone catch that? So, just an idea for your next Christmas potluck. Okay, next slide. So let's use the first option, which is to write the beat numbers. We're going to have Kirill demonstrate that in just a bit. Next slide. So, are we ready to play yet? Who here says yes? Okay, we're not ready to play yet. So Next slide. So there's one more step before we do the correct counting. We play with the correct counting. We're going to clap and count first. Okay? And why are we going to count out loud? So there's 3 different reasons. So the first one is it improves the timing and the accuracy when you actually hear yourself counting. It builds strong motor engagement, and it reduces the cognitive load. So let me illustrate with an example. Who here speaks another second language? So, Nelson, can you teach me how to say something in Mandarin? Can you teach me how to say count out loud in Mandarin?
I don't know.
Okay, let me ask you that. Okay, how do you say count out loud in Mandarin? Okay, I gotcha. Okay, now, how do you know if I actually learned it correctly?
You have to show me.
Exactly, that's a perfect answer. So what is it again, please? Dashen shu. Okay. So one of the biggest gripes of teaching my students is that I ask them to count out loud, and it's like, no, I don't want to count, or they'll count for a few seconds. They'll count for a few seconds, and then they'll stop, right? And I ask them, teach me another word. Teach me something in French and Spanish, and then they do exactly what Wei did, and I say, okay, I got it. And they say, wait, hold on a second. How do you know that I actually know how to say it properly, right? So by counting out loud, you're actually learning twice because you're thinking about it, and then you're hearing yourself say it. So it really magnifies the learning when you count out loud. Okay. So start with 1 measure at a time. I'm starting to sound like a broken record until you can steadily clap and count out loud each measure. Steady means no pauses, and if you pause, you're going to practice exactly where you left off, right? So anyone here like road trips? Yeah. Who doesn't? Right. So where have you road trip to? Montana. Okay, so you're driving to Montana, the navigation is telling you to go on this road, and you take a wrong turn, what do you do? Right, so yeah, you recourse and then you keep going, right? So would it make sense to go all the way back home and do your journey again? No. Okay, yeah, so if you're the kind of person who does that, you need to attend a different kind of lecture, maybe for OCD. So what I tell my students is that you make a mistake in the middle of the piece or the song, right? Don't start from the beginning, right? Starting from the beginning of the line is okay, but ideally you want to be able to start from where you made the mistake, right? Just like if you took the wrong turn on your way to your destination, you wouldn't just turn back and cry about it. Well, she would, but you just want to pick up where you left off, right? And that's a saying that we've all heard from our parents and our teachers. Okay, this is a group exercise. We are going to clap and count out loud this piece of music, okay? My aunt is wincing. It's okay. I believe in you, okay? A little more faith in you. So what you're going to do is that you're going to clap when you see a red digit or plus sign, okay? And you're not going to say plus, you're going to say and. So just a little demonstration. So you're going to clap on 3 and 4 and. You're going to clap on 1. Are you going to clap on and? No. You're going to clap on and of 2 and 4 and so on and so forth. Okay? So I'm going to conduct everyone. Ready? 3 and 4 and 1. Oh, okay. Ready? I need you to pay a little closer attention. Okay? So ready? Oh yeah. So 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, now we're gonna do it one more time. And whoever gets the song, congratulations. Okay, here we go. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 Okay, anyone know what song that is? Right. So you guys are just gonna rickroll. Okay. Next slide. Okay, so I think we're ready to play and count out loud now, right? So slow down your tempo when you transition between clapping and playing. So can someone tell me the reason why that is? Not one of my students. So why would we play the piece slower than we clapped it? I feel like you have that answer on the tip of your tongue. So what's harder, to clap and count or to play and count? Play and count, yes. Okay, next slide. So play and count the entire line, right? Yes? Not quite. So are you gonna keep going if you pause? Exactly. Okay. You guys are fast learners. Yeah, you're gonna fix those mistakes right away. So do you see a theme here? I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but that leads me to a story with Alan again at the pub. It was another one of those piano lessons. So I was telling Alan, my students, they have. I don't know what to do. No matter how many times I tell them, no matter how many times I try, they don't count out loud. They don't listen to me. I've told them like 100 times. And you know what he said? Well, Carlo, you have to tell them 200 times. Okay, all right, great. I paid $50 for this piece of advice. Next slide. So let's recap so far. What are the 4 elements of each note? Pitch. Fingering. Not my students, please. Well, you're all my students, right? Articulations and the counting. Okay? It's a piece of cake. Yes? So who here thinks that learning a piece of music so far is a piece of cake? No. Yeah, so hopefully, I mean, you're appreciating when you see a musician on stage perform without the music even, that there's a whole lot of effort that goes into learning and practicing the craft, right? So how to learn a piece. So stage 1 is essentially preparation, okay? We're gonna have a handout for this. We just didn't get a chance to print it out, but you have homework now. Okay, next slide. You can skip to the summary. One more. So, learning a piece of music is as simple as this process. What do you think?
Simple. Yeah.
So, has anyone here made croissants? One person. Anyone here bake? Yeah, a few people. Okay, it's extremely challenging, isn't it? Yeah. But let's say that you talk to the pastry chef who made these croissants, and you say, "Sir or Madam, can you teach me how to make a croissant?" And they say, "Oh, sure, yes. I will take you through all these steps." Okay, and then you go home and you have the recipe in your hand, and you say, "Well, I don't want to do that one. I don't think that's necessary." Right? Rolling it for the 4th time, right? But if you follow a process, it actually is straightforward, right? But what happens is that when we try to shortcut the process, that's where we're not going to get the desired result, right? So this is why music education is important not just for playing music, but it actually helps us to be process oriented, which is why, according to neuroscientist studies on brain development and brain activity, learning how to play a musical instrument is the most rigorous activity that the human brain can engage in, right? So more than playing a sport, playing chess, doing math, doing science, but it's extremely rewarding. But yes, following a process is very much important in achieving the results that you want in music education. Next slide. Okay, so let's see it in action. Curl. So Curl is one of my students and one of the teachers that works at Virtus Music School. So he's going to demonstrate how to learn this piece of music. Okay? So let's give him a hand. Do you think you can read from the screen?
Yeah.
On there? Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the first step? Eugene? Preparation. So we're going to figure out the correct notes, okay? So can you play for us the notes there?
I don't have to count, right? Just
Not
notes?
yet, just the notes. Notes and the fingerings, right?
Alright.
Now, I didn't indicate the fingering here, but I suggest using finger 4 on the 3rd note. Okay?
All right.
Okay, thank you. So I would consider using finger 1 on C, but good job with the notes. So where should he practice? Should he practice from the beginning, or should he practice from where I made the suggestion? Exactly, very good. So can you practice for measure 3? Measure 3 is this one, okay? Okay, can we add the counting?
All right.
Please. Can everyone count for Krill? Okay, ready?
Thank you.
1 and 2 and 3 and you missed your cue.
I did. Sorry, everyone.
Okay, ready?
That
1
one's not on you.
and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so Krill, you're missing ingredients.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to count it loud as
Yeah.
well.
Let's make sure we don't count too loud that we drown out Krill. Let's all count in a whisper. Ready?
3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and
Okay. I noticed a little bit of hesitation in the last measure. Did anyone pick up on that? Okay, Krill, you know what to do. The last measure, please. Okay?
Okay. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and
Very good. Okay. That's pretty easy, right? Okay. So, the reason why I decided to name my music school Virtus Music is because I believe that effective music education and success in it and enjoyment is as reliant on the virtues than just the music itself, right? In addition to the music itself. So some of the virtues that I try to teach and try to have the kids try to internalize and cultivate is self-awareness, focus, discipline, creativity, and passion. Those are the 5 core virtues at Virtus Music. So, yeah, and you can read more about that at our website. So, okay, next slide. Oh, that's not the end of the presentation, but in summary, okay? So, the elements of each note, the pitch, the fingering, the articulation, and the counting, and then some pro tips for practice. Be methodical. Intentional practice leads to effective results. Practice 1 measure at a time. Count and clap out loud before you play and count out loud. Fix mistakes right away. And practice very slowly. So there's a lot of nuance in these instructions, but what my students learn is, how slow is slowly, right? When you get more proficient at playing the piece, do I always have to practice 1 measure at a time? No. You can maybe practice 2 measures at a time, then 1 line at a time, then maybe a section at a time. But all great things start small, right? I want to talk about, just for a second, Jocko Willink. So Jocko Willink is a retired U.S. Navy SEAL, and he's now a consultant and an author. And one of the axioms of the SEAL teams is slow is smooth and smooth is fast, right? If you, haste makes waste, right? So when you're in a hurry to do anything, to talk to someone, to eat your meal, to learn something, you're not actually being fair to your brain, because it takes time, it takes patience to allow your brain to learn or be receptive to whatever is in front of you, whether that's a friend or a family member, a piece of music, right? So it pays to give attention to whatever we're doing. Hence the axiom, slow is smooth and smooth is fast, which is very much related to one of the sayings that Alan used to tell me all the time and tells his students today, is that if you practice fast, you learn slowly. If you practice slowly, you learn fast. Now you're ready to play that bucket list of songs, right? Are there any questions? That.
Do you make a mistake? You start with the measure, or you start at the note where you make the mistake?
That's a good question. So you should start at the note right before the note where you made the mistake, but then it's important to practice the context of the piece. So let's say you make a mistake right in the middle of the measure. So practice from the note before that note where you made the mistake, and when you're proficient at doing that, then you can return to the beginning of the measure, and then you could go one measure behind that. Great question. Teacher Rick?
No, I just keep getting.
You're excited to learn, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I'm learning right now.
Well, you can see one of our team members, Angelique or Kirill, to ask about getting started on your favorite music. But that concludes the presentation. Thank you. Okay, now the moment you've all been waiting for, the prizes. Okay, so everyone get your ticket out. So the first draw is for a $50 Amazon gift card. Okay. Have your ticket numbers? Did everyone get a ticket? 106 71 708. Oh, great! I may, I would love to perform for all of you right now. This first piece is by Edward Algar, and it's called Salut d'amour, which is translated as Love's Greeting. And it's a very lovely piece with a lyrical melody, a soaring melody that he composed for his wife on their wedding day. So I hope you enjoy Salut d'amour. Very much. The next two pieces are one is from Vienna and the other is from Argentina. So I wish I had programs. Next time we will have programs. But this is a live program, which is, I think, even better, right? So the first piece is an impromptu by Schubert in G-flat major. An impromptu, as the name suggests, is a piece that kind of evokes free-spirited improvisation. It sounds like it was something that somebody just thought of off the cuff. And the second piece is called Milonga del Angel, which is the angel's milonga. And the milonga is thought to be the precursor to the Argentine tango. Yes, right, we got a dancer over here. So I hope you enjoy these two pieces. The first one is by Franz Schubert, who is a Austrian composer. And the second one, the milonga, is by Astor Piazzolla. pieces, the last two pieces, are by Beethoven. So the next piece is a middle movement of the Pathétique Sonata. I'm sure that many of you will recognize it. And the finale is the finale of the Appassionata Sonata. So two very different pieces of music, but very much Beethoven. So I hope you enjoy these next two pieces. joining me today. This was the first time I ever did something like this, a lecture and a performance. So I hope you found it valuable. I hope that it was valuable. That's all I can say right now. Thank you. I want to say a few thank yous before you all go. Thank you to my team. Erica is my cousin. She's the photographer. Thank you, Erica. Carl is an up-and-coming teacher. He's studying mechanical engineering, and he's teaching a few of my students. And he's also working towards his grade 10 piano, so thank you for your help, Carl. One of the MVPs, Angelique, she's my personal assistant and operations manager. She probably worked 15 hours to 20 hours on the presentation. So thank you so much, Angelique, for taking care of us. Thank you for my students who came. It was so encouraging. They performed in the recital today at 3 o'clock. And they haven't been here the whole time, but I really appreciate them coming and their parents. Thank you. And lastly, I want to thank my parents. My parents, still to this day, come to my performances. They come to my younger brother's performances. So thank you so much for what you guys. I think 80% of the people here are my parents' friends. So I do not know how to do it. So thank you. Thank you to everyone else who came. We will post later lectures, different lectures, and to share the joy of making music. So thank you and good night.